Welcome back, everyone, for the LCS Academy 2022 Spring Split. We're here on the first day of week number 4, our first super week of the season, and I'm very excited. I've got Joshi and Mad Magical with me. Quickly, before we get to this next game, which will be 100 Thieves versus Immortals Progressive, we're going to go ahead and actually look at that.
Oh, yeah.
and be able to kind of look ahead, I guess, at this matchup that we have, and it's very exciting to end off our first day of the Super Week.
Before we go too far forward, I do want to give a brief apology to Ben Blair on Twitter. I did, in fact, doubt the Narshan coming through, and I apologize for my sins.
You just gotta reckon for your sins.
Why do you think I brought up the stat before about the 52 games of Nar that Narshan's played?
You know, I do have strong opinions, but I'll accept when, people show me, people like, look, I know you think this is a bad matchup, but let me just crush this game really quick. And it's like, all right, well, you do you, Darshan. You make me look like a chump,
boo-boo.
but that's okay. We got one more game, like you said, 100 Thieves and Immortals going at it for our last day of day 1.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And I guess we'll just go ahead and bring up the rosters then. And oh, no, we're not going to bring up the rosters because now I get to do my spiel about play versus. So really quick, I just want to go ahead and shout out the fact that, play versus itself has been an amazing Riot official Scholastic partner for League of Legends. It's where thousands of high school players compete weekly for a state championship title. They also can earn varsity letters for gaming with their friends. Never thought you could say that. Enrollment is open now for their spring season, and I believe that the season has preseason kicked off already on the 31st of January. But make sure you go spread the word and go visit www.playvs.com and get that team ready. And speaking of ready teams, now we're going to talk about the roster.
There we go. There we go.
Coming up. There, now we're on track. Yep, the train is rolling. 100 Thieves looking mighty fine. Not too shabby as they are manifesting first place with those ambitious tweets.
So
huh?
I will say before we even get there, I just want to say it's like we have a similar story with 100 Thieves where before Cloud9, we were waiting for their full roster to be able to come in and be able to play. They've been playing with subs. You look over to 100 Thieves. Jordan was doing a good job, but Busio being in.
Have you seen Busio?
That's what I'm saying.
God.
Busio feels like
insane.
he's just leveled up 100 Thieves to a whole new level on how great he's been able to lead this team. Just looking last week at how dominant
it's like
they were.
Poom levels. Like it's insane. It's amazing that this roster keeps just churning out talent like this. I do want to quickly bring up the other side, who does have a very talented roster in themselves, and Immortals Progressive. And I want to see what you guys are thinking about this roster. They have had a little bit of a slump, but they still have the skill to take some wins.
Yeah, it's just definitely a roster that there's a lot of names behind, right? Pretty and Arrow coming in from other regions, though Arrow, has been here for a while, and really big leaders for this team. And they started off this season 4-0, but since then had a bit of a tougher time, 1-7 in their past 8 games. So as we look at it, we got to see if the consistency can come back. Concept definitely has a very different champion pool, which forces them to play in a couple of different ways. But
I'm just saying.
I'm
just saying. The math works out. If they win all their games this week, it's 7-7.
There you go. Well,
all I'm saying, I can't do much math as a play-by-play and a host, but I could do that math.
Wait, today or this whole week? Because if they just today, they'll be
whole
even.
Week, right?
This whole week. If they win all their games,
on the slump. We're talking about the slump. All right, we're
I'll
gonna
do that
move past
1-7.
Sorry, I contributed to that. I derailed everything. We were on a train. We were on the tracks. It was all good to go. But I do want to really quickly throw to a mainstay of the academy scene, somebody who we expect to take those next steps at any moment. It is Kenvi.
Yeah, Kenvi's been looking very, very good so far across this year. Right, he's been looking so strong for quite a while, and we get to see some of just a couple of things that we end up seeing him do just across the board. He's like one of the people you look at XU who's constantly been winning a lot of these smite fights. Kenvi has been the other one that I always look to, as you can never count this guy out once a dragon or a banner's on the field.
Oh, I mean, how many steals he's had, just taking that away to keep his team going in these games, but also just seeing how good the team is about playing around him when he's able to gain control and the first foothold over these objectives, these neutral objectives. There's a reason why we keep looking at this team and how they're able to play and how they're able to utilize Kenvi in these aggressive posturing positions.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the killer instinct for me for Kenvi. You always find him taking, aggressive 1v2s or things along those lines just to get that little extra mental edge, that little extra, economical edge. And it's always so fluid with him.
But he's not the only jungler that we're going to have to pay attention to today. We actually have a story coming through right now where the other jungler we're going to be paying attention to today is Immortals Chad, who was also playing for 100 Thieves Academy last year during the time where Kenvi and Tenacity were moving on in order to help out 100 Thieves at Worlds. And Chad is one of these players who, just watching him play and having a lot of aggressive opportunities throughout his plays is really, really impressing me so far. But this is a story of the student versus the master. These two players were previously on the same team, operating in different ways, while 100 Thieves was looking for some of their wins. And his EQ flashes coming here, just really impressive to me on this drive. And a champion that doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of mechanics, but his willingness to just follow up on things and commit to things in order to make sure his team looks good.
Well, I also like just how aggressive Chad tends to play in the early stages of the game. He's always looking, like right here, looking for these level 3 dives on things like Viego, where you're like, oh, that's a scaler. That's something that wants to just farm it up and not really worry too much early on. He's like, nah, no. We're going to dive right away. We're going to get these leads immediately, and we're going to snowball from there.
Yeah, it's been very incredible to watch the rise of these two junglers and having had the history they have on the same team, the replacement. It's just all so good. I'm very excited to see them go up against each other this time around, right? Immortals needing to find something, needing to pick something up, and especially that matchup against Kenvi being so important doing so. Guys, I did hear we are ready for our first champ select of this series, so take it away.
Thank you. We'll talk to you later, Marcel. Don't worry. We'll have you back here for some more League of Legends and our halftime show. But we got to get ready for this matchup. I am super excited. The last matchup I was excited for, Cloud9 Academy versus Team Liquid Academy. But this one, 100 Thieves Academy, have been rising, and we've seen how good they are with Busio in the lineup. But Immortals, this is the redemption arc time. They started off so strong in the season. They're able to get the first 4 games immediately. But here into the draft for game 1, they leave open Caitlyn. The 5th time we get to see this champion in this split.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. Now, there's possible there was a couple on the other side of the stream, on stream B, but I honestly kind of doubt it. This champion has been banned so many times, and Immortals coming in, Chad going to be getting one of his best champions as well. The Lee Sin going to get locked in, and again, we've seen all of this before. The Caitlyn is... I don't even want to call it a novelty, right? Because it's been banned so often, but the amount of power this champion brings with the ability to use lethal tempo is incredibly difficult for a lot of other champions to go for. And I'm expecting to see more of the same throughout the rest of this draft. Both teams going with fairly standard things. We haven't necessarily been seeing anything super spicy from either roster, except in the top lane, where Concept's champion pool has been very unique compared to most of the other people who have been playing in this league.
With the Lux locked in for Busio as well. It's a good time to mention that Busio is one of those players that swapped roles. Back at the beginning of last year, went from mid lane into the supportive role, and has been having far greater success in the leadership that he's provided. People already talked about his leadership when he was in mid lane. But as a support player, he's been even stronger in that capacity, plus now playing something that is essentially just a mid laner in the supportive role.
Yeah, and we'll see how well they actually do this, right? Because there's a ton of pressure that Caitlyn and Lux create on the lane. It is very difficult to walk up wherever Caitlyn and Lux are, simply because you get one crowd control, you're suddenly crowd controlled, typically to death. And Joey might be able to survive it on this Leona. Arrow almost definitely won't be able to. So there's a big difference in their ability to play out that way. But as we start moving towards the second half of the draft, let's zoom in a little bit on Concept one more time, because he has been playing a very different set of champions, right? Sion, Mundo, Singed, Wukong, right? The only one of those that we've really seen anybody else play is the Sion, right? And we just saw it come out from Darshan as this incredibly effective solo tank, but this is not the situation where I think that they are looking for even more of a front line. They really need to find the rest of their damage.
And with the second part of the bans, I'm curious to see how they're going to be able to draft for Pretty, because I'm expecting Pretty to be the one that they actually grab immediately first. Not even not going for the typical tank in the top lane. They could obviously do that. Grab maybe Sion, maybe the Ornn. We saw a little bit more success on that Ornn champion. The Singed is also a fun one to be able to see as Mundo gets banned away from them. But just how they've been tending to draft, they want to really get this unique champion pool the top side for Concept with Pretty playing Ivern? Question mark?
Well, it's still possible this Lee Sin can move around. It's still possible to play it in the solo lanes magical, so I'm holding out judgment, but this is probably Pretty on the Ivern, which is a very different look from Pretty, right? He's definitely been the kind of player who has been looking very aggressive and looking to create a lot of solo advantages, but going up against Jimian, whose defensive play has been excellent, but isn't necessarily able to create a whole lot of pressure on his own, this is an opportunity for Pretty to say, yeah, I'm willing to play a bunch of different styles, and I want to make the rest of my team look really good. Instead of playing for myself, if I instead play towards probably Arrow, they can find a lot of success.
Look, you know, we had Cloud9 just this previous series, right? And I was expecting them, the Church 9 team, to pick something like Soraka or Ivern. But instead, we get to see Immortals taking the words of Prophet LS and listening to His Majesty when it comes to what they want to play in mid lane. That is such an interesting thing to see from Immortals, and I'm really curious to see whether or not that is going to be the Ivern top lane, as you talked about. Maybe flex the Concept's hands, or if they're going to make sure that it's for Pretty and then set Concept up to be someone who can carry, and he's a Tryndamere player. This actually is perfect for him.
Yeah, I mean, I really like this. The Gangplank was typically what we were seeing Tryndamere picked into a long time ago. Back when Darshan was the only person playing the Tryndamere, he would do it specifically into the Gangplank. So this is a situation where this Tryndamere should be pretty comfortable in both the mid lane and the top lane, but I have to imagine going to be going into Concept's hands while Pretty bringing Ivern mid to Academy. I don't believe we were going to be seeing it on the B stream. This is an opportunity for Immortals to try and turn around their winning streak because they have an Enchanter and 3 auto attackers that enchanters really love playing around. So I really like what Immortals are doing. They're trying to turn their fortunes around, and this is step one, trying something new in order to learn and showcase what it is that they've learned.
And it's crazy to see this too from Concept, because you had talked before, he's been playing a lot more of the tanks than the top lane. But this, having talked with Concept, is one of his old classic picks that he used to main way back in the day. This is one of the champions he put so much time and energy into. This, Garen, Nasus, some unusual picks, even Teemo way back in the day. But this is perfect. It's a great pick into Gangplank, as you were just talking about, Joshi, how this used to be the classic counter pick there. This is set up beside of Immortals with an Ivern. I didn't even get a touch on the fact of how well this pairs with Ivern, because if he lands that route, all these melee champions can now just jump on that target.
We'll see how effectively they are able to put it, but it is, I want to go back to our story matchup here, Chad versus Kenvi. This is typically a matchup where it's pretty back and forth between the Lee Sin and the Xin Zhao, but we definitely see a big opportunity, thanks Leche, for a lot of teams to have a big change in how that works, because whenever you play an Enchanter plus a Bruiser in the mid-jungle duo, that is always the strongest 2v2 you can come up with. It's why Lulu Master Yi or Lulu plus Xin Zhao has been so strong. It just makes your Bruiser even stronger, and you just bully through one of the two members with the crazy damage they're able to put out.
And we're now loaded up onto the Rift. It is our final series of the day for our first Super Week of the spring season for 2022. 100 Thieves Academy, they got a pretty typical looking draft on their side, while Immortals Academy, Immortals Progressive, they've started going to church themselves with Pretty on Ivern mid.
Look, say what you want about LS, but I love the fact that he is making League of Legends more interesting, right? Teams are willing to experiment with different styles of picks in ways that they weren't even just like, a couple of weeks ago. We're starting to see that the meta is kind of getting shaken up, and people are recognizing that, yes, the meta is effective. Yes, there's a reason these champions are played is because they're good, but any champion, any set of 5 champions you come up with have weaknesses that can be exploited, and we'll see if, again, Pretty and Chad, I expect them to move around a lot as a pair, will be able to exploit some of the weaknesses that this composition has put together.
I'm expecting the same thing. That's why I had to mention the route that comes in from Ivern and how it's able to set up all these melee champions on the side of Immortals. Essentially gives them all free gap closers, but they don't even have to use their spin to win. They don't have to use their Sonic Wave to be able to get into these targets, into these backlines, so long as Pretty's able to land at that route.
Yeah. We see the bushes getting thrown down as well by Pretty, because, you know, it used to be that Ivern would only get range auto attacks if he was in a bush. Now he gets range auto attacks whenever, but he still does extra damage with his auto attacks from these bushes.
I miss the bushes doing that, but here, hold on. I just gotta put that on pause because Joey tried to go in, but you can see the shields. This is the power that Caitlyn Lux bot lane has. It's really hard to do much to them, especially if you just start with the shield out of Busio. Anytime Joey goes in, throws out the shield, is okay.
Oh, Concept Ghost.
Yeah, he's already used the Ghost. And to get the flash out of Gamsu solo, that's a big play there for Concept.
Yeah, Gamsu walked really far forward and immediately punished because his jungle isn't able to respond. But notice the difference of paths being taken by Kenvi and Chad. Kenvi going for a full clear as the Xin Zhao, while Chad instead looking to clear out a smaller number of camps in order to get to level 3 so he can potentially look for a couple of ganks. And Wixie, moving up towards the jungle, will try and spot it out, but now that they know where this ward is, it gives Chad an easier time. Just hop over the wall, get into the brush, and from there, look to find the gank, completely dodging the wards that Wixie threw down.
Exactly. That's what I noticed as well. Like, it was a very well-telegraphed ward placement from the side of Immortals inside that brush to see where Wixie had placed his own ward. Chad is essentially hidden. They don't know exactly where he is. They don't know if he went from bot to top or vice versa. This gives Chad ample opportunity to look for this play, to look to skirmish against Kenvi. But it's still difficult to skirmish against the Xin Zhao as Master Yi early on. You want some support from your Ivern.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a student versus master. I was kind of waiting for them to both opt into it, but Chad going to be giving it up, is going to gift the ward kill over to Kenvi, but now just going to be back to farming, and both of them skipping out on a couple of camps as Kenvi jumps over the Raptors and Krugs in order to get to the first crab. And so we're seeing a lot of give and take between these two junglers even this early on, but now that both of them have been spotted out, people will know what is up. And notice, I believe that Concept actually picked up the topside Rift
I don't think he did. I think he just put a ward down, but we got to put that on pause because right now Busio is in a lot of trouble. Look at where Chad is focused too. Letting his bot lane get the kill so that he could focus onto Wixie.
Yeah. Well, look at that. I mean, Kenvi looks like, yeah, okay, you're right. Kenvi was able to pick up the crab there. I think Concept was in the middle of doing it, but didn't commit to finishing it. But yeah, big play coming out from Chad on the bottom side, giving up an extra camp in order to make sure that his bottom lane is able to win that 2v2. That's what we need to see in a very different style coming through. He's able to give things up to make sure that there's no counterplay coming in from 100 Thieves. And Busio, we have high hopes, but he needs to be able to actually survive some of this early game in order to get to the point where we know he could be more effective.
Josh, is it really a different style from Chad? We always see him go for level 3 ganks, and I mean, yes, he's giving up some of his farm to be able to do so, but it's a typical Chad play. And now, from one gank to another, he's looking for this top lane play. But Gamsu, with very little mana, can be tricky to actually jump on top of with Kenvi behind him.
Yeah, good ward coming out from Concept. Just kind of expecting something a little bit fishy was going on there. And it was a large wave that I don't think Concept wanted to give over anyway. So, bit of a back and forth as Pretty has to use a lot of his mana pool in order to stay in this lane, and he will have to back away in just a moment. But with his teleport, he should be able to participate once again as the stun does prevent Pretty from backing. So it's going to be forcing that's going to be forcing Pretty to stay on the map in order to farm this wave, giving a bit of an opportunity for Jimmy to have a better back than he would have previously.
Yeah, it gives a lot of opportunity because you already see there's a bit of a CS lead from Jimian, but he doesn't have TP. He opted for Ghost instead in matchup, just wanting to be able to dodge away. One thing about Ivern is that Root is a very slow-moving projectile. You're a speedy boy, you're going to be able to dodge away from that pretty easily and deny a lot of that potential jump-in follow-up that can come in from Immortals.
Yeah, I think the Ghost is mostly actually for the Tryndamere too, right? Like, the biggest thing is once Tryndamere is in the ultimate, it doesn't matter how much DPS you do. You just need to get away from him and prevent him from hitting you. So having the extra movement speed to play around will be very helpful for the members of 100 Thieves in order to keep Victor alive throughout this entire fight. But we are starting to see some laning effects come through, right? Arrow and Joey are struggling to play into this Caitlyn Lux combination. They are down about a full wave at this point, but on the top side, Concept with the classic counter pick is absolutely blowing Gamsu out of the water in terms of farm, and now he's level 6.
So he took a lot of damage there from the barrel chain coming in from Gamsu. Even if he's level 6, still got to be careful, especially when Gamsu hits level 6 himself. Good at kiting back, as you talked about, getting away from the Tryndamere, be able to then fight back. Can get a little dicey, that's why you want to back off, spend some of that gold, get yourself in the best position humanly possible, especially when you're bot lane's making plays like this. But Kenvi, right in the wings, could be the follow-up onto Wixie. So low, and it's going to be Chad getting the kill. Credit onto that one, flashing away with it. Knight taking on his head. Nice shield to be able to escape. Cannon Barrage was not enough to be able to turn that fight around for 100 Thieves. As Busio and Kenvi nearly got re-engaged by Joey.
Second gank coming in from Chad towards the bottom side. He is currently winning this rivalry against Kenvi and just having more of an impact on the map. He's a little bit behind in farm, but Concept once again trying to be annoying on the map, just moving in. He almost got the crab earlier. Now he is going to get the blue buff because Kenvi is just too far away.
This is a classic Concept style, making sure that he can take away everything from his top lane. But we get a look at this replay and look at the play coming in from Chad.
Yeah, just very confident in his ability to wait out the flash, then hit the Q, and it makes it kind of trivial for the rest of the follow-up to come through. And as he leaves, there's no real counterplay from Kenvi. He's just not fast enough to go for the fight. But Concept gets away the blue buff. You get the missing ping coming through from Kenvi. It's like, hey, where did my blue buff go? So it is going to be a spot where Concept very happy with his current positioning on the map, and oh my god, are we going to see a repeat?
Repeat into the spot lane.
No flash.
Busio is going to be the target. Look at how squishy he is. Completely eviscerated by Arrow. The stun onto Wixie too. Dodges away from the Q out of Arrow, but they're going to be able to get a lot of damage back onto Joey, even if it was the kill traded. Busio still dead, and the lead for Immortals.
I feel like we're just getting repeats of what we just saw, right? That was the exact same place that Joey caught Wixie and Busio in the first time when Chad was here, and it just gets them another kill once again. So the lead that Wixie and Busio were building up was really big, and I forgot about that.
I saw it, and I didn't think Pretty was actually going to be able to get it. I thought it would time out in time, but nope. He still is able to saunter on over there, pick up a blue buff for himself, so both him and, I guess, Tryndamere have one. It's just
Let's go.
This is good for the side of Immortals right now. Everything's looking pretty peachy, even if Kenvi's able to get the first dragon of the game.
Yeah, I love the play that is starting to come out from Immortals going up against 100 Thieves. And 100 Thieves, okay, let's back up a wee bit here, Magical, because I don't think we're going to get a... Well, just kidding.
I was going to say, are you sure?
Here's the fight.
Sure about that? That was a Hex Flash, and that is going to be Wixie. Doesn't have Flash, doesn't have Cleanse, no way to escape that fight, and dies in the fight. Look at Joey, too. He's still surviving against Kenvi. Double kills, picked up by Arrow, as Busio, he's followed up by Chad, and without ult, without any damage to his name, it's Chad picking up a kill. Does he heal up enough? He doesn't, so Busio at least will get some redemption.
Get something back, but Magical, I have casted 100% of 100 Thieves losses at this point. The most important stat you're ever going to get is which caster is in your games. Cubby, the other color caster, has only casted 100 Thieves wins, so there's something wrong going on right now. I'm hurting them quite a bit, and Wixie and Busio getting caught yet again. It's from a different angle this time, but at the end of the day, the result is basically the same. Arrow and Joey coming up with another win, and Chad goes a little bit aggressive here. I'm not sure if this was entirely worth it, but the mental damage that you're doing to the members of 100 Thieves might have been worth the little bit of gold that you're giving back.
I argue that it's worth it, because there's no shutdown bounty now on Chad, and who gets the gold for the shutdown? Busio. Not Caitlyn, not Victor, not Gangplank, nor Xin Zhao.
Well, I guess that is true. If you can choose to give the gold over to anybody, Lux is the one that you would like to give it to. But Immortals, now they have to look for opportunities to snowball this advantage, because Arrow is still down in CS, as kind of to be expected, in an incredibly long-range lane that Wixie and Busio have drafted for themselves. But at the same time, Chad is down here once again, looking to exacerbate this lead and just put Wixie and Busio in the dirt.
Pretty much just saying that, yeah, you get this powerful Caitlyn Lux combo, but you're not going to be able to play League of Legends with it today. We are doing everything in our power to neutralize it, because look at top lane. Tryndamere versus Gangplank. No reason to even visit that. That's an island in your mind if you're Immortals. Mid lane, same thing. Pretty versus Jimmyan. Why bother? Completely own this bottom half of the map and make sure Wixie and Busio are irrelevant.
Yep. Concept spotting out Kenvi as well. Going to be backing away, and no harm, no foul coming in for Concept. So, yeah, the lead that Jimmyan has over Pretty is, one, to be expected, right? You're playing an Enchanter, and two, doesn't mean a whole lot. Enchanters are supposed to be able to play with a lower economy anyway, so as Pretty moves in, it's going to be very difficult for Kenvi to live.
Kenvi doesn't have any backup here either. Look at the chase down potential coming in from Concept. The flash away. The Concept wants this fight. And with Chad there too, the Apprentice takes down the Master. They're able to get a nice kill to help out Concept, but he now has to escape with his team right behind him. Gotta be careful. He will be able to get some safety coming in from Joey.
Yeah, Wixie just doesn't do any damage right now. He's past the spot where his super long range is the most important part of his kit, and the fact that he doesn't have any damage behind it, it suddenly becomes even more important. So Immortals going to be getting themselves their first objective of the game in this Rift Herald, and they already have a 2,000 gold lead this early on in the game. You have to expect that Immortals should be able to win this first half of the series and just snowball it out of control while Caitlyn and Lux are just really, really weak.
And look at Wixie here. He's trying his best to push in this pretty fat minion wave that would crash into the turret, but he couldn't step up. They saw the control ward placed down by Concept and Joey, and he knew at that moment there's no way he could step up towards those minions. There's no way he could deny that going over to Concept.
Even with Busio here, it's not obvious to me that Concept can't just 1v2 them. He doesn't have the ghost, so it might be a little bit hard to stick to them, but the big thing that you're just paying attention to is the fact that once the bind is down from Busio, there's not a whole lot left for Wixie and Busio to use in order to get Tryndamere off while he's in his ultimate. So Joey and Arrow instead going to be coming up here because they want to make sure that Concept can stay into the gangplank. But look at the fact that Gamsu has a Warden's Mail.
Ooh, yeah, that's a deviation in your path. If you're picking up a Warden's Mail as gangplank into Tryndamere, you know things have gone terribly wrong. It's delaying your mythic, it's delaying the damage potential that you're going to be able to have, especially when we get towards the later stages of the game.
Yeah, and it's not an item that you typically want to build anything until, like, your third item, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the Randuins, like, you really need your Trinity Force completed or your Essence Reaver or, like, Lethality build, depending on what kind of style of gangplank you're trying to go that day. But the Warden's Mail just means that your damage is so much lower, and you're never going to be, like, a true frontline on gangplank no matter what. So it's just a really tough spot for Gamsu to be in because he will not have the damage necessary to make up for the fact that Wixie and Busio are also weak.
This ain't looking too good for Wixie and Busio. They're trying their best to be able to hang around, but Chad just pops the eye. Gonna get a lot of plates. I wonder if Arrow's gonna try to get within range to be able to pick up the gold, but it just looks like Chad was the only one to receive it.
Okay, well, Chad gonna have to dodge out. Good dodge from the light binding. And now with Joey and Chad moving around as a pair, this is when the game becomes super, super scary. When your AD carries comfortable on their own, when your top lane's comfortable on your own, when your Enchanter mid lane and your Leona Lee Sin can start moving as this roaming goon squad, it becomes incredibly scary to be in any of the side lanes.
Especially because we look at the mythics completed on their side. That Moonstone Renewer is in the inventory of Pretty. You said that you wanted to see the goon squad, move around with Chad. That's what's going to happen soon.
Yep. Well, Pretty now got to make sure that he doesn't give over anything. The Daisy is going to go down here in a moment, but, Daisy messes you up, man. Daisy does a lot of damage, and a lot of people don't necessarily realize it until they have to play against it. But the first turret ends up going down, the solo money going over to Arrow, but it looks like it's going to get traded. There are still a couple of cracks here for 100 Thieves to exploit. They are going to be getting their second dragon of the game, which gives them a win condition to play to. It's not an easy one because they still have to take fights around the third and fourth dragons, but having two dragons now is two dragons that IMT do not have, which gives you an outside way to get back into the game.
I think that is kind of like the hope at the moment for 100 Thieves, that they can rely on stacking up these dragons, getting themselves that essentially free gold that you get from each of these objectives, be able to at least compete with Immortals Progressive, who have a 3,000 gold lead over here at just 15.5 minutes, really early into this game. And how much gold do you think Arrow's over that of Wixie at this point? I'm gonna venture a guess and say it's the entire lead.
It would be about 2,000-3,000. Yeah, very possible. Yeah, about 2,000. That is 2/3 of the lead that their team currently has. It's kind of crazy to me how close Gangplank and Tryndamere are, considering the fact that Concept had such a large lead previously, but he's not been the one that they're playing around.
Oh, Jimmy, the target, the flash, not enough, the kick away, and an easy kill there for Chad, even with the Chaos Storm brewing. Flash away, ace in the hole, body blocked by Joey. Arrows on the other side. Tell that 100 Thieves wanted to be able to capitalize off that play, but unfortunately they just didn't have the members in the right place, right time.
I'm loving the patience coming out. Whenever you see people not just using their abilities immediately, but wait for maximum effectiveness, I absolutely love it. And Chad does that perfectly right there. He doesn't need to land the Q. He just needs to make sure that there's no way for Jimmy to get out. after committing the flash, it is impossible for Jimmy to do anything. So the rest of the map is still in a spot where IMT need to be able to create more plays, but they also don't necessarily need to do it by diving their opponents. They should be happy as long as they have a large gold lead and they feel comfortable taking the fight in 3 minutes around the Mountain Dragon. That's going to be what's pulling 100 Thieves out of their cave. And let's be real, Wixie is not going to be strong enough at that point to be a credible damage threat.
Everyone always talks about Caitlyn's power trough here in the mid game, having just the Gale Force, really needing that second item to really be able to bring that power for 100 Thieves. And even though they did finally complete that Trinity Force, for Gompsu in the top lane, like you talked about before, the Warden's Mail kind of slowed down that pace, have made it really difficult. So this mid game is looking dire for the side of 100 Thieves, and they still have a long way to go until they can scale up and actually be able to match IMT.
So let's take stock of like how we're expecting this game to kind of come back. Normally, we know that when Kenvi gets a lead, he's the one who's going to get 100 Thieves to kind of snowball the game out of control. It's why he's been playing the Nidalee. It's why he's been playing the Xinjiao and the Kindred, because if he gets into a strong position, there's not a lot that other teams can do about it. But now he needs to bring his team from a spot of weakness to a spot of control. And moving around with Jimmy to pick up this first turret is a good way to get them at least a little bit of money back in their pockets.
But it's a trade of the tier 1 for tier 1, top for mid. That's a lot of gold and a great structure for IMT to actually get for themselves. A lot of control again over Kenvi, as you talked about being the player that we are looking towards for 100 Thieves to be able to start these plays off strong for 100 Thieves, because who else is going to do it? Everyone else is either range or wants to kind of sit back and wait for the engage to happen. It has to be off the back of Kenvi if 100 Thieves want to be able to bring this game back.
Yeah. And that's kind of, one of the difficulties that Immortals are going to have is going up against 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves have a ton of disengage tools, right? The Cannon Barrage, the Crescent Guard, right? The Gravity Field, all the traps and the light bindings means that 100 Thieves are very comfortable kiting backwards for these fights, which means that it's difficult to actually crack open the base. And I think that's kind of what Immortals are waiting for, is they're looking for an opportunity to pull 100 Thieves into positions where they aren't as easily able to play and force them to make some errors. And now Pretty on this Ivern, I mean, you saw him just go for the very first camp that at least I've noticed him just go for it, channel on, and just in a second, he's going to go back and pick up this Gromp in order to make sure that he's getting multiple sources of income on an enchanter.
Right, and I think that's actually even how we can see maybe IMT fighting into this fight. But right there, this is going to be a power tool. Is Jimmy chasing down Concept? He is starting to get scary, and if they can utilize that, that's going to be huge. But if they get this pick on Tabusio, that's going to be devastating. 400 Thieves, the kick 2, killing spree out of Chad. They need to be able to save their backline, but they can't do anything to kite back yet.
Yeah, I love the fact that Chad waited for his next W to be up so that he had a way out of the fight before he went in. He was confident he was going to get the kill. It was just a matter of making sure he lives afterwards. And now Pretty split pushing on this Ivern, going to be getting another turret for their team, and also in perfect position to fall back and pick up this dragon whenever they want to. Chad throws down the Rift Rod, and look at the peanuts damage that Gompsu's doing.
Whenever you see a barrel chain like that too out of Gangplank, you're expecting this explosive bit of damage. Really be able to chunk out someone like Chad on Lee Sin, who's only got a Gore Drinker in his inventory. This just shows you how far behind the scaling composition of 100 Thieves are at the moment.
Going to be really tough for them to do anything. They can't really come over here. Busio can try for a blind steal, but that's their best hope to pick up this dragon, and not going to be throwing it out. It is going to be Chad grabbing the Mountain Dragon for themselves. And hey, I think I've made this joke before, Magical, but you know what's cooler than a Mountain Soul?
What?
4 Mountain Dragons. 24% increased armor and magic resist.
Yeah, that's gonna be a lot to be able to survive the damage that comes in from 100 Thieves. But at least they have some tools to be able to chip through them. They've got Jimian, already has that Luden Sempus and Morella Nomicon. Nice, some of the healing that can come in from IMT, but I need to see that Shadow Flame. That's going to be the big one. Coming in from Jimian to actually be able to cut through members like Pretty.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what they can actually try and do, because it is a tough position for 100 Thieves to actually get things started, right? They are very reliant on finding picks and Kenvi just jumping in all on his own, and neither of those are the easiest thing in the world to actually pick up.
That's why IMT feel confident to just play this one passively. They don't really need to look for anything because they know that 100 Thieves have to play into them. Even if they can fight back really well on the 100 Thieves side, Immortals just can grab everything else. They're like, yeah, play passively. We'll take the entirety of this game so that eventually we can just smack you with the power of our wallet.
Oh. That's the second time we've seen Jimmy do that to Concept, and it's the second time that Concept has been like, okay,
like,
goodbye.
Yeah, I'm out. Bye-bye.
Yeah, watch him heal up all of that over like 2 Qs, right? He goes for a couple auto attacks. I'm just curious if he's going to use... I mean, the first thing he's got to do is got to go hit this Baron, right? You know,
it's
priorities.
Been taken pretty quickly here. Looking down to 25%. That's a Cannon Barrage being used too, and it's going to be the Singularity not taking it away. It's going to be the Baron secured by IMTA, but now they're stuck in the pit. This is looking a little risky. Kenvi goes in, looks for the Crescent Strike, getting a lot of damage, but Concept using the Undying Rage to be able to chase down members like Wixie. He was able to flash and kite back just a bit, but still, the follow-up, Joey on top of Wixie, and he's not looking too pretty in this one. It's going to be a free kill for Joey, as Busio, the next target, flashed away, but the follow-up from IMT is consistently making sure they can feed Chad.
Just across the board, man. Chad looking super good. Joey able to follow all of these plays, and 100 Thieves are now crumbling. I'm going to maintain my record as the color caster who will cast 100% of 100 Thieves game losses. As Immortals, they are 7,000 gold ahead at 23 minutes. They're going to be cracking this first inhibitor, and with the Baron still in their inventories for another 2 minutes, they can back away and then come back and siege in just a moment in order to make sure they get even more than that first inhibitor.
They already even have Concept on the side lanes pushing in more of these turrets, getting more gold for IMT this entire time.
Ooh, not committing to actually picking it up, and it might just go down to the minions anyway. The local gold is a lot on these inner turrets, so yeah, it's okay. It's okay. He can come back in just a moment, but we're starting to see second items really starting to come through. Notice that Arrow, again, remains about a full item ahead of Wixie. We're also seeing the Serpent's Fang coming out on Gomsi to try and cut through some of the shielding that is available to the members of IMT, right? Pretty will constantly have opportunities to give those shields out, but there's still a lot of healing, right? This doesn't really address the, the healing that's coming through, and the grievous wounds being applied by Victor is nowhere near as efficient as it would be on Lux. But I think 100 Thieves decided we can't wait for Kimtech Future Fire. We will get run over if we have to wait for Lux to get to 2 items.
That's why the Imperial Mandate has been built up. Now all mythics on both sides have been purchased, but this still is a lot of power onto the side of IMT. Still with the Baron on their head, still with Daisy too, so they can follow up onto Kenvi.
Daisy.
They're just trying to force them back. They're trying to see if they can crack more turrets this entire time.
Yeah. Look at that shield too. 40 seconds left on this Baron buff. And we'll see. I don't know if Immortals will be able to actually pick up another turret.
Jimmy just
lots
getting
of damage.
soloed by Arrow there with the shields. Look at Arrow. He is perfectly fine. Chad takes a lot of damage, but Redemption to keep them all full as the rest of 100 Thieves completely retreating back towards their Nexus turrets, forfeiting this top lane inhibitor.
Chad and the rest of Immortals looking absolutely stellar this game. Strutting his stuff a little bit right now. They end up picking up the inhibitor, and with no Chaos Storm, this is a tough hold.
This might be the game. Immortals, they're staying. They're committing. They've got the Solar Flare onto Busio with Chad, looking to see if he can get into the backline. Joey had to go golden, still alive. The Cannon Barrage, not enough to be able to chip them down with the ace in the hole. Body blocked by Chad, too. Immortals finally peeling back, not wanting to overcommit.
Yeah, they can just go back towards the dragon as well, pick up another mountain dragon for themselves, and eat all of Kenvi's jungle. Kenvi, for the first time, really is behind Chad in terms of the amount of farm, and it does mean that Immortals, as they continue to eat everything that 100 Thieves want, it's very, very difficult for 100 Thieves to really have a way back into the game. And just now, like, Immortals are going over to the dragon. You know, if you're on 100 Thieves, you're like, wait, they haven't done it yet. Maybe we can go over there. And then, like, 2 seconds later, you hear the dragon go, oh, I died. It's like, oh, okay. We're good. We never had a chance anyway.
The second dragon picked up by Immortals. I'm curious to see if we actually end up getting the 4 dragons that you had called out before for IMT, if they can get the full 24% armor and magic resist for the team. But I think they're just going to win beforehand.
I don't think so. Exactly, yeah. I mean, if we see a couple of miracle fights coming out from 100 Thieves, where we have, you know, another 10 minutes to this game, maybe Immortals are able to do that. But at that point, I don't know if Immortals would still be strong enough in 10 minutes if 100 Thieves are able to drag out the game. Because at that point, Victor's on 3 or 4 items. Caitlyn's on 3 or 4 items, right? Gangplank's on 3 or 4 items. At that point, I don't know if Immortals are still strong enough. But right now, with an 8,000 gold lead, they should feel pretty strong to try and end out the game, as we see them moving in full force towards the bottom half of the map, and Concept even slow pushing this wave a little bit to try and make sure that all the waves are going to be impacting the enemy base at about the same time.
With Immortals positioned, they have minions pouring in from the top lane, they have minions pouring in from the mid lane. All they have to do is topple one more turret here in this bot lane, this inhibitor that 100 Thieves seem keen to defend.
Okay, Randuin's completed onto Kenvi. Gamsu is still building up a little bit more lethality as Daisy comes in. Daisy's going to be the one who gets things started.
All the while, Concept has been escorting these super minions into the Nexus turrets behind enemy lines, but nobody from 100 Thieves seem like they can actually stop him. That's a massive minion wave that Gamsu has to stop from just taking the structure.
Yeah, I mean, he does a pretty good job with the barrels, but man, it's still a lot of minions to try and deal with, and he can't really ever leave because at that point, the rest of his team is just going to lose their Nexus turret. So Immortals slowly pushing in, but these Caitlyn traps are still there. Whoa,
away
no
from
way.
To be able to survive, but the turret is gone. Now Kenvi into the back line. Final Spark only doing a little bit of damage, but Concept still wants to fight this one out. He's got the Undying Rage. He's got to heal back up with a nice fat shield coming in from Pretty. Dodging away with a flash in from Kenvi. Gets the shutdown. Huge Chaos Storm 2. Arrow stun. He tries to get away. The dive back in from Joey. It's not going to be enough. He's bounced around the entire time. 2 kills for Kenvi. It's a double kill. Immortals, they were at the precipice of victory, but 100 Thieves fight back.
Great ability to use this small window that Immortals are giving them for Kenvi to find a kill, and just being able to create some space for the rest of 100 Thieves allows them to move forward and at least hold their base. They don't lose the mid lane inhibitor second time, they don't lose the bottom lane inhibitor, and now with the Baron spawning, there's an opportunity for 100 Thieves to try and contest that. They're still down 7,000 gold. The game still looks really tough, and Concept can look to try and end the game now that there's only Nexus turrets between him and the enemy base. So Immortals, they're coming here first. They're making sure they control the choke points, and they don't want to let that kind of mistake happen again.
They can't, because we're getting to the point where the scaling, the items, are being completed by 100 Thieves. You talked about it before, the 3-4 items that Jimmy can complete. Well, he's got a Lich Bane in his inventory. That's 3 items compared to the 3 items of a relatively cheap build that Pretty can go for.
Well, it's some money onto Jimmy, but now Immortals waiting for Concept to get into position. They want to make sure that they have their ultimates available. Arrow's flash comes up relatively soon, so Immortals don't need to press the issue. Yes, 100 Thieves are getting stronger, but they're not going to get that much stronger before these cooldowns are back available, and that's why Immortals taking a little bit of time. But Concept, now in the side lane, doesn't have a teleport, so he can't join the fight, but he can threaten to end the game, and that's why Immortals happy to let this one turret go down, because as long as Concept is creating pressure, the members of 100 Thieves can't
fight. A menace
fight.
in the side lane. With 2 open inhibitors, pretty easy for a Tryndamere to take them. But 100 Thieves, as they kite back slowly, taking them a long time to get back into their base. This is giving ample opportunity to Concept to take down this bot lane inhibitor.
Okay, Gamsu is here. I mean, he does have the Warden's Mail, he's got the Collector, he's got the Serpent's Fang, but look at this, Immortals, they aren't even hitting the Baron, they just need to buy time for Concept, and now they're looking for Jimmy.
No flash available, and nor is Ghost, but he's able to kite back still, back to his team. And all the while, bot lane, Gamsu and Concept are bashing heads with one another.
Not a whole lot going on the bottom side of the map, and another inhibitor has respawned for 100 Thieves. Our top lane is back up. There's no extra pressure there, so Concept needs to create more pressure.
Pick on Kenvi. Nobody could follow that up just yet. Daisy getting a double knockup, but nobody on Immortals wants to follow up without Concept there. He is just trying his damnedest to see if he can escort these minions in, but Gamsu is answering every time, and the pick onto Joey, not going to be enough at the moment.
A lot of wave clear is available to the Gangplank, and he's holding Concept back, and he's holding him at arm's reach. So with another dragon spawning in a couple of seconds, Concept looking to go for a flank.
See if he can pinch in the side of 100 Thieves. He's there, but so is Gamsu. Level 18 to level 17. With these items completed, Gamsu's actually going to be able to bring a big punch to these fights.
Okay, Concept now with the red buff as well. He's going to have a ton of extra HP to play with. He can just go in and trade with Gamsu a little bit before backing out and regenning. So another Mountain Dragon going back towards Immortals. We said that if we end up getting to the spot where the last Mountain Dragon actually spawns, Immortals might not be strong enough. And so 100 Thieves have bought themselves 5 more minutes in the game where they are continuing to build up items. And so Gangplank is online, Victor is online, Caitlyn is online, and Immortals, we're seeing that their job has become so much harder because of the one mistake the 100 Thieves punished 5 minutes ago.
One thing I'm still noticing is the lack of that Shadow Flame out of Jimmy. They only really have the Serpent's Fang from Gomsu to be able to cut through these massive shields Pretty's going to be able to provide in these fights.
Immortals, once again, going back. They're going to be hitting the Baron in order to try and create a diversion. Remember, Concept can't join them. He doesn't have to teleport while Gomsu can, but Concept coming around, they see him, they know he's on a flank, but he's already here.
How low that Baron is too. Waiting for the Cannon Barrage, doing only a little bit of damage. The final spark is too late to be able to steal it away. The Baron secured by IMTA, and 100 Thieves are way far from their base. Concept can re-engage, but look at the kick onto Joey. Back into the enemy lines, and he's killed off by Gomsu. It's still 100 Thieves, though, having to play patiently because that Baron from Immortals is making things difficult.
Oh, the Baron is kind of the equalizer, but Joey just a little bit too far forward. His team can't follow into these choke points. And Immortals looking for an opportunity to find something. They have the Baron, so they can play this a little bit slowly. Remember, just because Immortals have trouble getting fights started, 100 Thieves aren't necessarily any better at it. And now Concept off in the side, doesn't have Ghost, but should be tough to track down. Jimmy and still only level 16.
Compared to that of Concept, who's 18, Pretty 17. Immortals still in a good position. Even if they lost their support, it was only the support. They still have this damage from range that they can utilize to make sure they can constantly harass 100 Thieves.
100 Thieves trying to come in, and the shields coming out from Arrow. So difficult to actually take him down, and the pressure coming through. Joey is alive once again, and these inhibitors, I mean, it's not a fast process, but it is slowly going down.
It is slowly but surely, and all this time, Joey's pathing towards the team to be able to re-enjoy. Here's Daisy to equate things a little bit more for 100 Thieves and Immortals. Trying to see who's going to be able to get the first fight with one inhibitor gone. 100 Thieves now have to defend this final inhibitor in the top lane that remains.
Yeah, we see super minions continue to pour in from the bottom side of the map, and Daisy still hanging around. Chad looking to find a way in. They just need to find one small opening, and the Nexus turrets are going down. The
What's going on?
inhibitors are all gone.
Disengage coming in from Kenvi, but it's Concept to clean
He's
up
dead.
Wixie. Kenvi so low, Crescent Guard will keep him alive, but there's no turrets remaining. The kick dings back in Gomsu. The fight is over. It is Immortals taking game 1.
Oh my god, magical. Once again, 100 Thieves end up giving it over a game to Immortals, who have won one of their last 8 games. Now they're finally coming back. They're starting to look like the team that might be able to take a 6-0 week. Now, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, because that was one crazy game coming through, but it was an absolute clinic of making sure you can punish the Caitlyn Lux and not allow it to ever get off the ground. Chad spent so much time in the bottom lane putting Wixie and Busio behind.
It was honestly a great showing in from Chad, and this is why we highlighted Chad and Kenvi going into this one. We wanted to see the Master versus the Student, how that was going to play. Chad kept playing his style, the level 3 ganks, looking to see if he could get his side lanes ahead. And the spot lane, he spent so much time in because he knew top lane and mid lane were going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah, it was really good stuff, right? Understanding what your win conditions were and able to play towards it. I feel like there's a lot that we can look at from this game and see, could Immortals have ended that a little bit cleaner? Absolutely. But at the same time, we can't really fault them for coming up against one of the strongest teams while Immortals have been struggling for quite a while and saying, yeah, we think we can take it to you. We have the confidence to consistently go for these plays and go for something a little bit new. Pretty on the Ivern wasn't necessarily the biggest factor in actually winning their team fights, but he made sure they were always confident enough to go for any of the plays in the first place.
And with that, Immortals, it was a long-fought battle. Even though they were the ones with the lead for the majority of that game, they still take game 1. They're able to take a powerful victory over that of 100 Thieves. I feel like now we got to toss it to a break. We got to kind of reset, figure out what's going to go on for our final game of the day. As well, we could bring back our lovely Frenchman for our halftime show, so make sure you stay tuned.